and has been the pioneer in the technological education of the country. Initially, we had all engineering departments, but later on, we have embarked into the education in management, law, humanities, and the latest addition has been the medical education in IIT Kharagpur. Now, in this series of expansion of IIT Kharagpur's education, uh, this leadership academy is the last and the most significant that has been added courtesy Professor Partho S. Ghosh, and Professor Partho Ghosh has kindly given the seed money to kickstart this uh, leadership academy, which is now known as Partho Ghosh Academy of Leadership. Now we are going to this leadership academy is going to be inaugurated by the education minister on the 18th, and before that, this is the curtain raiser event, and we are very fortunate to get two very eminent speakers to talk on this curtain raiser event. That is Professor Partho Ghosh and Commander Virendra Jetli.
This academy is of unique in the history of IIT Kharagpur. You may be knowing that IIT Kharagpur has been creating history for long. The first history is that this is the first IIT of the world. It started in 1951, 18th of August was the inauguration by the first education minister of this country. Also, the School of Law, which is another unique thing which has been added in the history of IIT system. Professor Partho Ghosh, who is also the managing director of the engineering consulting company, as well as Tufts professor of practice and MIT. He has thought that something like this should happen. And yes, I think it was very much in the line, because there are dearth of leaders, good leaders. I can tell you in academics as well. We have very brilliant scholars, but they are very poor leaders. And when an academic institute is to be run, I think you require the other traits as well. You must know the nuances of leadership. Stakeholders like students, staff, other people outside the institute, I think you need other traits and strategic management which are missing in our academic leaders. So definitely there is a difference between the one who have been successful and the ones who are not that much successful. To create, and in fact, why not? Even political leaders, I would say, why not we go across and see that there should be political leaders as well. They must know that they are the people, they are the representative of the people, and therefore they have a responsibility to serve them. So why not? We should also have such courses. The idea behind this academy is such that as envisioned by Partho Ghosh and his friends, as well as Professor Kanchan Chaudhary, and all of us, we think that we will create a critical mass of such people with the help of leaders and achievers like many of them I can see across here on my board here. We would like to have lectures from them. They would like to have short courses of maybe 6 months, 1 year, such certificate courses, which will create and which will actually show to the world that yes, Leadership Academy at IIT Kharagpur is one of unique kind in the world. We have already started this in the institute. A 36-hour course has been already started, and it is open to many of the students who will take this course, irrespective of whether they belong to UG, PG or research scholars, because we find that this sort of trait is required. Transformational leadership. This particular academy is going to go a long, long way. And I'm sure that with the help of each one of you and the blessings of all my seniors, I am also graduate of this place, so you are all my seniors and friends and other well-wishers who are interested to help this academy. We want to take this academy to the #1 in the world with the help and blessings of all of you. Thank you very much. I wish this academy the best of luck. Thank you.
Yeah, so I'd like to request our director, Professor Virendra Kumar Tiwari, to click and to make the curtain raiser up,
Raise the curtain
to raise the curtain.
of
Thank you.
the Partha Ghosh
For the
Academy of
Leadership.
Leadership, formally.
Formally.
I now have the proud privilege to introduce Commander V.K. Jetli and introduce him to the august audience. The purpose of this academy is to build leaders and to develop the leadership qualities that is inherent in the people around us. But some people are born leaders, and Commander V.K. Jetli is one of those.
Thanks, Professor Kanchan Chaudhary. We call him Kanchanda. You gave my introduction beautifully and with so much of laurels. Obviously, you have seen me during my student days also to a large extent. Thank you very much. Over 4 decades as a strategist, as a true global citizen, as a former partner at McKinsey and Company, and a leader of his own global firm, Partho S. Ghosh and Associates. He has served heads of businesses, multinationals, and governments on significant strategic and organizational issues in close to 30 countries in Asia, Africa, European Union, North America, South America. Wow. He has inspired leaders worldwide across cultures in developed and developing socio-economic environments. His clients view him as a creative problem solver and a visionary leader. He mentors and guides several startups and CEOs around the world. He has delivered more than 200 plus keynote addresses in various leadership forums across the world. Dr. Ghosh leadership model is winner of many prestigious awards and distinctive medals, a new school, first of its kind, Partho S. Ghosh Academy of Leadership, based on the Vedic principles as well as the Western thought, is being established at this Indian Institute of Technology, IIT Kharagpur, and West Bengal of India. So, this academy is going to help and uncover the inner power of the so-called future leaders of not only India but all over the globe. Partho S. Ghosh, all yours. Please go ahead. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Commander Jetli, for your kind words. Thank you, Director of IIT Kharagpur, Dr. Tiwari. 60 years ago, in the first convocation of IIT Kharagpur in 1955, the Prime Minister of India, Jawaharlal Nehru, spoke of the location of IIT, of symbolic value, and he said, since then, Indian economy has come a long way, and clearly IIT Kharagpur has become not only the monument of the nation, with such a stature comes a significant responsibility which the IIT ecosystem must shoulder. And that is exactly what the director was talking about. And he talked about self-threes, not selfies, but self-threes, self-awareness, self-confidence, and selflessness. How the academy that director launched today will become a premier base for leadership development of the world. A profound privilege to share with you my thoughts on the leadership of the 21st century. I've entitled this talk, The Leadership in the 21st Century, Uncovering the Power Within. I've been a student of leadership for close to 35 years. Since then, I've conducted about 100 leadership workshops across the world. It is embedded in some of the fundamental philosophies of our world, particularly Vedic philosophy, in how to establish a better harmony between human and nature and between each other, between communities and between nations, that the leadership model that IIT Kharagpur would establish would indeed feature the new concept of what leadership should be. The other inspiration that I draw is from John Kennedy, and I want to read it out. He wrote, "There are many kinds of courage: bravery under fire, courage to risk, and reputation. My hope, Leadership Academy graduate individuals who inspire corporate executive, political leaders, academic leaders, illuminate the nature of the world and the world that we live in, and the essential principles that should drive the development of enlightened leaders. And finally, I'll talk about the basic architecture of the leadership model that the Academy would be celebrating for years to come." The first S-curve was driven by steam engine, James Watt. That led to the first industrial revolution. Then came the second industrial revolution driven by electricity. The third driven by miniaturization of semiconductors. And then came the internet, social media, and actually we are entering Industry 5.0. It's not 4.0. Industry 5.0. So there is a deficit of equality, deficit in how we deal with nature, deficit of how we manage the ethics. We have hotspots in South China Sea. We have hotspots in the Middle East. We have hotspots in the United States where democracy is being challenged. This new world you see in your screen, there are 5 domains. The one I would call it the domain driven by artificial intelligence, the metaverse. So we have to develop a new leadership framework to how to engage with technologies with a significantly wider perspective. There are indeed some serious challenges beyond the 3 years. And they are, as you could see, related to the struggle between capitalism and socialism, the struggle between democracy and autocracy, the struggle, the uneasy challenges of globalization. We just saw in the last 2 years how the globalization process was challenged, how the supply chains broke down, and of course then we have the challenge of dealing with problems. The world is faced with significant number of challenges and the Western Bloc. But now, if you click to the right side, please, if you look at the new world that has emerged, it is highly disorganized. This is a deconstruction of the past order, but no new order has developed. In fact, the world is searching for the new order. As I was told yesterday's meeting there's the challenges between Japan and China. So worldwide, and of course we know about the problems in the Middle East and the problems in Africa. So we need to really understand the world with a different perspective. The next slide, please. And even within the Democratic Party, there are some major splits. So that is creating a new kind of gridlocks, which is not allowing the world to solve some of the difficult and urgent problems the world is faced with. So at the same time, as you could see, the center of economic gravity of the world is shifting. Europe first and then the United States. In the 1950s, it really got settled down in the middle of the Atlantic. But then with the rise of Japan and then South Korea, and more recently China, a little bit of India, Southeast Asia, the center of gravity is shifting. And that has a very serious implication. If this location is shifting from the west to the east, we have to think of what might be the leadership models, what might be the economic models that we have to come to terms with. Next, please. The debate has been between socialism and capitalism, which somehow the Western world is not recognizing and often feeling uncomfortable to deal with. That is what I call the strategically guided economies. The first developed by China, that you allow free market, but the government has a role to offer strategic guidance. And the challenge that we are faced with, particularly when I look at the debates between China and United States, is talking about the prosperity of the common. Prosperity of the common. The world is moving into a very interesting situation. At macro level, you see many tensions, need for many changes. At micro level, also you see a lot of different technologies offering possibilities, but the real challenge is the tension between microeconomy and macroeconomy. So indeed, we need a new type of leadership, and that's what we're going to explore in the next 10 to 15 minutes. Next chart, please. As you could see the picture, this is a very important picture, very simple picture, that the world is in the middle of a mega tornado, and we need a new S-curve of leadership. But now when we move into capitalism 2.0, where it's not a matter of self-interest, but selflessness, self-expression, self-consciousness, we have to think of a new leadership model. The second point, as you could see, I would like to talk about the new framework. Always there's a new knowledge which discards the old knowledge. The other vector, which is the x-axis or the horizontal axis, we're looking at the complexity. Complexity with globalization, we will look at the global financial systems, which is how do we address as we move from the bottom left corner to right? Because we have been in the bottom left space. Second, we have to bring significantly more imaginative and intuitive capacity. Third, ability to think nonlinear, not extend the past into the future, but think of new ways to travel new paths. So when you look at this picture, it's very simple. That when we are talking about the future leader, now when I look at the leadership dial as a result, please click. If you look at what has happened in the last 200 years of leadership, as you needle was on the left-hand side. India, the Leadership Academy can provide leadership in creating what I will call capitalism. The leadership model that IIT Kharagpur would develop in the academy would basically integrate, as Professor Tiwari was talking about, both the Western and the Eastern philosophies. We are talking about harmony with the environment, harmony with nature, and symphony of purpose. It is not about self-interest, it is about selflessness. So when you look at this picture, that defines what I would call a great leader. From the Western world, which I'm calling X, which is external in, because West has done extremely well to measure the outside. That's how physics, chemistry, mathematics, all the engineering world developed, which is important, which I'm calling X. And the Eastern world has been more Zen, more based on inner universe, understanding the inner universe. The way Taxila and Nalanda is to work, people is to go to, the students is to come to those places more for the self-development so they could become effective citizens of their communities. So I think that's the model that we are talking about, the shell around the individual. But what we in the academy would focus on, next slide please. Mother Teresa had a fantastic charisma, as did Vivekananda. Mother Teresa didn't speak much. Vivekananda was a good speaker. So people's inner self defines the outer. So that leads to the leadership model that I've been experimenting for the last 20 years. I would like to pay my tribute to Charles West, who invited me to develop the leadership program at MIT. He was the president. You see that the three I's, the power of intellect, power of interconnectivity or interconnectedness, and power of intuition. When we can create a symphony of these three I's, your power to influence becomes significantly higher. A typical leader in the Western model is more like a manager, relies on control. But a good leader inspires trust. I'll pick up a few of the points. What would be the basic architecture of leadership development? How do we go about converting into programs, courses, as Professor Tiwari was talking about, 3 months, 6 months courses, how to bring these three powers, how to trigger these three powers to create the DNA of leadership. So any individual, any student who graduates or comes in contact with the academy develops that power to influence. And to do so, some of the fundamental beliefs that we will celebrate is first, and that's something I humbly believe, that everyone has the traits of leadership. 99.9% of the time they remain covered. We talked about Elon Musk has uncovered, is different from the way it got uncovered in personal life, to make more out of each of the individuals. And finally, great leaders see greatness in others. So in the Leadership Academy, we'll work with these 5 fundamental principles to ensure that indeed that everyone who comes in touch with the academy finds the inner conscience. We'll develop series of programs. This series of programs will work on each individual almost like a spin of electron. As they go through the programs, the power of intuition, the power of intellect and interconnectivity. So I see this effort that we have launched is all about understanding self. We could bring to play in each and every individual that spin allows leadership expression. And I see that every program that we organize, it will have basically 3 stages. Stage 1 would be more how to bring systems thinking in individuals so we can connect the dots. Second would be more conscious of practice of inner values. And finally, how to build intuitive capacity, which is how to create new reasoning beyond the normal logic. So it is my hope that as we help people to transition, people would typically transition from the left-hand side. Because today, if you look at the world, people are typically living in a very narrow bounds. So I'll be closing with 2 slides. The first one, which I've taken from Maya Angelou. Nothing can dim the light which shines from within. Nothing can dim the light which shines from within. And power to influence outcomes only increases when we have helped ourselves to strengthen the power within. Leadership is a human fine art that uncovers inner courage and guides the forces of self-expression of individuals, of an organization, of a society, of a nation towards a higher level purpose and towards a superordinate meaning. Using the expression of Kennedy, to wage a silent battle to illuminate the nature of man and the world which he lives. It is our responsibility. And with that, I would like to thank all of you who have attended today this opening curtain lifting session. Commander Jaitley, who has commanded many roles within the IIT system, and then Professor Prashni and Tilak Singh for making this a great success. With that, thank you very much indeed.
That whatever action a great man performs, common men follow. On this earth, what should be the vision of the leaders of the 21st century? I say it should be Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, that the world is one family. One is the competency which the colleges normally teach us, the character nobody teaches us, enthusiasm. Nobody tells us about that. And let me tell you, this Partho Ghosh Academy of Leadership is going to focus on the other two pillars. Many times we just keep fighting because we look at our perspective only and we don't look at the perspective of the other person. Let's say yes to collaboration, say no to confrontation. Let's say yes to coexistence and say no to conflict. The nature and the human beings can coexist on this planet. Now onwards, let's embrace all, hate none, embracing all, and development for all. Gentlemen, thank you very much.
I think, to be very brief, it is evolving. It's not past tense. First, it's evolving. If you will, channels of learning from the environment, and in the process, the ability to give back to the environment is significantly higher. And then, how do you connect your inner universe with the outer universe so that you could indeed express your compassion? So, to me, leadership ultimately is your ability to influence change with or without titles. Titles are given to you by someone, taken away by someone. I said, Dr. Ghosh, you have changed my outlook about life. I said, what happened? What did I do? So for last 2-3 days, I've been very depressed. My father and mother has broken up, and I was seriously thinking, what is the value of my life? I'd like to commit suicide. I think one big change that I've seen in people that become significantly better listeners. They listen more than they talk.
First of all, I would like to thank the entire leadership, Professor B.K. Tiwari, Professor Chaudhary, Commander Jetli, and all others who has made this unique leadership academy possible.
You know, one of the programs that I envision, which IIT Kharagpur would undertake, that every student who is going through the academy, they will do a 2 months to 3 months projects, which would be in the rural area. A biodegradable fabric, not only for bags, but for shirts, for wall covering, for carpets. So these are the kinds of programs our students can take on.
When we talk of ethics, character building, compassion, well, my sincere request would be, let's think of something, doing something, catching them young.
They will develop understanding of each other as opposed to becoming elitist. They will become part of the real socio-economic fabric of the country.
This curtain raiser event for the Partho Ghosh Academy of Leadership, which will be formally inaugurated on 18th December by Honorable Education Minister of India. So all those who are attending now, may I request them, the link will be sent to you. Please join next event on 18th December. And after that, anytime, always, you should be with Partho Ghosh Academy of Leadership. Thank you very much.
Request Professor Trilok Singh to extend the vote of thanks.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Professor Chaudhary, for giving me this opportunity to say vote of thanks. First of all, this is a great pleasure to give the vote of thanks. And I would like to thank our director for giving us all the supports all through this time, and all the stakeholders involved in making this event successful.
And all those who have hidden their faces, they can come out.
Yeah, let's do that. Let's take a virtual picture.
अपना वीडियो ऑन कर लीजिए सभी लोग. Please switch on your videos.
Great.
Videos.
And make a grid photo. As many as possible on one single screen.
Yes.
So Partha, a lot of congratulations for a good start. This is Krishan here.
Thank you very much, Kishan. So nice to see you. And let's hope you will appear on the picture. Let's take the picture.
Of course, I'll be there.
Cheers. Cheese. Smile, please.
Cheese.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, so we leave and we meet on 18th December.